Hello and welcome back to the Saints Squad Show. I'm your host, Dylan Sanders, and even though we didn't have an episode yesterday, don't worry, we didn't forget about you. We're here now.
John Hendricks, New Orleans football. Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
This is former Saints wide receiver Lance Moore. Like the great Ron Burgundy used to say, could we be talking about a win streak?
Uh-oh.
It's the Saints Squad. Everything New Orleans Saints, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from down in the Big Easy, the way only Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Saints Squad Show, starting now.
Howdy, Nation, and welcome back to the Saints Squad Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making this your first listen every Sunday and today, Thursday. We have a unique group of experts here ready to bring you a fun and informative show on everything New Orleans Saints. Today, we're going to be diving into this Giants game. We're going to talk a little bit about coming off the first win. And yeah, let's jump into it. Crossover Thursday is presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And just a little bit of housekeeping. Yesterday, we normally go on Wednesdays, so if you're here today, be sure to check us out on Wednesday nights. But there was a power surge in New Orleans, not shocking, and it was impossible for us to do an episode last night. So we're doing it today, and then we'll, of course, be back here on Sunday. Ross is going to come in at some point. He's coming in hot from practice, so we'll get some fun stuff from there. But let's kick it off with us, and let's talk a little bit about, how should New Orleans be feeling after picking up their first, which finally they won a game. How should they be feeling? And Lance, maybe you can give us some insight what it feels like to get that first win of the season.
Well, I mean, after starting out 0-4, it feels great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a part of a team that started 0-4 in 2007 in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out to Seattle on a Sunday night and ended up kicking their butts. And it's like a breath of fresh air, like a sigh of relief. I mean, all the cliches that you can give in a situation where you're down consistently, and then you finally kind of rise up and get over the hump, the proverbial hump, you should say. But it's got to feel good for those guys. But again, this is the NFL. You can't celebrate those victories for any longer than you sulk those losses. It's on to the next. And it's like, as fans, sure, we feel great for a week because we're not in the building. We're not preparing for the Patriots like the team is, like the coaches are. So it's different for fans and players. So for us, it feels good.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. You're only as good as your last game. Some people say you're only as good as your next game. So the next opportunity could lend itself to the first win streak of the season. I mean, that if I'm a fan, that's how I'm feeling. If I'm a player, I feel good about having a performance where we won a game, but I would never be satisfied with that one win. It's like, What do I need to do to correct my mistakes from last week? What do I need to do to get a little bit better this week? And then obviously, what do we have to do collectively to win this next game? That is their focus. I'm sure they're not sitting in the locker room dancing still on a Thursday after they beat the Giants at home last Sunday, right? So it's like it's on to the next. And for like I said, for fans, we can celebrate it for a week and be excited about the upcoming game because it could be a chance for us to win another one. But for players, Cam Jordan talks about it every single week. It's the 24-hour rule. You watch the film, you digest it, and then you get on to the next.
Mm-hmm. John, how are your thoughts on the team coming after the first win of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's some relief there, right? I think that you look at how this team is, they didn't win a game. They haven't won a game since week 14 of last year when they played the Giants, coincidentally. So I think for the players, and I don't think, but I kind of know that speaking somebody who's played sports, it takes a little bit of relief and some pressure off. Know that, hey, the hard work we do put in, we can actually put this thing together and actually not beat ourselves and get a win. And so that does feel good because it counts for something in the NFL, right? And so you could slice it a few different ways because a lot of people are saying, oh, this is more about the Giants self-destructing and not the Saints winning. I don't know that I would completely say that, but I would also say the Saints did get some fortunate bounces that they don't necessarily get. But I feel like with the Saints playing the way they did and playing a good brand of football, it started not so good, and we're sitting here thinking, here we go again, right? But they were able to settle in, put some things together. I think that the morale boost you got from Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau returning, although it didn't really register on the stat sheet, I think it just gave an extra boost to this team because, even Spencer Rattler after the game saying that they're the heartbeat of this team. And I wouldn't really disagree there. I mean, DeMario, I'd put him in that conversation too, but getting that first win and winning for the first time in, almost 8 games, that's a big one. Same thing for Spencer Rattler, Kellen Moore. Everybody can breathe a little bit, but like Lance said, it's back to work on Tuesday or, really probably Monday when they came in and watched the film and such. It's all about the New England Patriots. You can't follow up a game like that and then go fall flat on your face against New England. They were probably really hungry. They're getting some health boost now, but I feel good. I mean, this is what we kind of expected some aspects. So, Rattler, I think, played really well. We like the deep shots to Shaheed. I know Lance has only been talking about it for weeks, right? Months probably, actually. But so I think it's a good vibe for people to have. But, look, it matters what they do on Sunday against the Patriots and then the Bears. I mean, they can win these next 2, but they got to go play the New England Patriots first.
Yeah. And Lance, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you can't sit with the win. You can't keep thinking about the win. But does it allow you to play a little bit freer, knowing that you do have a win, that you can win a game?
I mean, I think maybe going into the game, you can feel a little more free. But once the whistle is blown, like the game is the game.
Yeah.
So it's this isn't basketball. Like there's so many more moving parts in a football game, and your specific responsibility is so integral to the success of the entire unit, and then and in turn the entire team. Like you can't be off your game in a given play and your team be successful. Usually in basketball, guys can have an off night and everybody else can kind of pick it up.
Yep.
and they could still manufacture wins. It's just a different type of thing. But I do believe that one thinking that this team is going to go winless is out the window. That's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they've already gotten over that. Spencer Rattler, like John alluded to, got his first win. That's good. Kellen Moore got his first win. That's good. So now all those 3 negative narratives are gone for the rest of the year. So we don't have to sit here and talk about Spencer Rattler doesn't have a win. Kellen Moore, when is he going to get his first win as a head coach? Is this team going to go winless? Are they going to be 0-17? Will they be the first team to go 0-17, right? Like we don't have to have those negative conversations. And as much as players like to talk about not reading the news clippings or not hearing the things that are said about them, I'm 100% positive that they all have an understanding of the things that are being said about them and not having to worry about people calling them trash every week or the team that can't win a game, or look at all the different rankings throughout the internet that teams had them ranked 32 out of 32. Now they no longer are 32, right? So like it's looking up in my opinion. And I think that getting rid of a lot of that negativity that's kind of surrounded those narratives, I should say, is kind of like a sense of relief for everybody.
I did not have Kellen Moore getting his first win over Aaron Glenn on my bingo card. I thought Aaron Glenn would have already got his first win. That's kind of crazy what's going on in New York too, by the way. But I did not have that on my bingo card this year. Kellen Moore would win first.
That is good. I not to be that guy, but once you start winning games, especially with the league that it is right now, it definitely puts the draft into question in the future because there are a ton of teams. Like the Baltimore Ravens are 1-4, and there are a ton of teams that have started out slow, and even winning 1 game or 2 games could push you, start to push you further down that draft board, and then it starts to become that kind of game. But I think overall, just the fact that they won a game is far more important than any of that right now in terms of the immediate future for this team. I'm excited to see how they answer it because They answered, I think, their poor performances well. That really bad game they came out and they looked a little bit more competitive against the Bills, and then you build on that, you get a win, and then see how they build on the win, as opposed to having to be like, okay, guys, we're not that bad.
Well, yeah. How does this team handle success? Yeah. Like some teams can do it, and they do it week in and week out, and then other teams could potentially have some level of success and then kind of default back to what you have kind of grown to know them as. I'm hoping that this team is able to kind of continue the upward trajectory and playing better and winning football. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to win a game, but this team should feel pretty good about itself. But again, you can't rest on your laurels. Like, it's on to the next, and it's what do we have to do to win this game? Because it's going to be a different game than the New York Giants game, because they all are.
Yeah. And the Patriots, I mean, they're a team that just upset the Bills. I mean, and the Bills kind of been looking a little bit sus, like the Saints. More people are like, they didn't look like they were really the team. And then the Patriots win. So the Patriots aren't a team that I would sleep on for sure. I think that they're well coached with Mike Vrabel, not to jump ahead in segments, but they are going to be tested, is what I would say this week.
Yeah, it's interesting because now with the Patriots beating the Bills, it is a conversation of, man, can the Saints even beat this team? But the way the NFL works, I think the Patriots are a team where you can go in and be like, okay, you have a chance to win, especially at home, in what should be a nice little crowd.
Yeah, well, and I think it truly is any given Sunday in the NFL. I don't care how bad a team is, and I don't care how great everybody thinks another team is. If that great team doesn't show up ready to play and execute, they can lose just like anybody else. And I think that's one of the cooler parts of the NFL, because as a fan, your team might be super struggling, but you never really know. Like, they could show up and play the game of the century and beat a team that they have no business beating. I've seen it happen plenty of times. It happened against us plenty of times when we lost a game and we're like, man, how did we lose to that team? But it happens. One, because there's only 32 teams in the world that are in this league. They're the best football players anywhere, and they're all pros. They all get paid, and they all have a sense of pride and competitiveness that won't allow them to just lie down and let somebody take the games from them. So it makes total sense to me why or how a bad team can beat a really good team. And so I think that New England is a better team than people thought that they would be. But again, they've got to show up in this hostile environment and execute. Like, they did great against Buffalo, but we aren't Buffalo. And this game will be different than that game because they all are.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this too. I'm sorry, Dylan. I was just saying, I don't think they when you look at the 1-4 teams, like, I get Baltimore, they got 20 Pro Bowlers that are injured, but I really don't think New Orleans is the worst team. Like, there are some situations where, like, you saw what happened with the Titans. Obviously, they got their first win, great, but the Jets are a major mess right now. The Dolphins are a real big mess right there. So I feel like the Saints are just in a position where, like, they're not the worst team. Like, that narrative just has to go. Like, I don't think they're a worst team. Are they one of the worst teams? I don't know if I'd go even there, but I feel like where they're sitting at 1-4, they are definitely a team that can be on the ascension. Whereas some of these other teams, they got a big mess on their hands, and I just don't know if they got the roster, the coaching, and everything else to be able to pull themselves out of it. At least the Saints, I feel like they can.
Also, just since I mentioned it, I looked it up. If the season were to end today, the Saints would pick 5th in the draft off of this one win. And that's a big difference. It's a big difference between picking 1st and 5th.
Yeah. Right.
So, got to make these worth it. Got to make these.
But I mean, look, I think there's reason for optimism, right?
Yes,
because we while we are one of the worst teams as far as record goes, I don't think anybody would watch a game, hear from players, just the overall buzz around a team, and think, man, that organization does not have it together. Like, I think it is there's positive momentum in that we're showing up most of the time, and competing, and we look like an operation that is well coached, well managed. And I think the arrow is pointing upward as far as the direction of the organization. Whereas I don't know that we could have said that for the last couple of years. I think the last couple of years, it's like we're trying to hold on. But when you look at what's going on the field, it kind of looks like that arrow is starting to point down. And while I don't believe that this team is going to win, 10 or 12 of the next games, I do believe that this team will remain competitive and look like a team that's going in the right direction, which to me is more important in the long term than anything else.
Yeah. Optimism. I think there's more optimism here for sure.
All right. Well, speaking of optimism, let's get into some maybe optimism and talk about what the Saints must do to keep their win streak going create a win streak by winning a second straight game against the New England Patriots. The NFL season is back. And honestly, there's nothing better than, opening up FanDuel, seeing what they got, because it just makes a game a little bit more fun. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. Let's take a look at what FanDuel has in store for this Saints-Patriots game. The Patriots are, as of the time of recording, a slight favorite at minus 184 with minus 3.5 points. So it is expected to be a little bit of a close game. And that is with the Saints being the home team. So they do expect, a little bit of a better performance from the Patriots. But one thing that I am very intrigued by, and we'll get into it coming up next in a little bit, is Rashid Shaheed's numbers. He has a 46.5 receiving yards over under. And honestly, it feels like that could come on one play. And if the Saints had their say, that would come on one play. So if you like that and or maybe you want to pick the Saints as an underdog, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. And if your first $5 bet hits, you'll get $300 in bonus bets.
Big bets.
All right. Big bets. Big bets. Would y'all take that over 46.5 for Would y'all take that over 46.5 for Rashid Shaheed? Because I would now, because I feel like going into this game, what they need to do, and it's something that we saw last week. Finally, they need to keep passing the ball deep. I feel like that is a big thing right now. We finally saw it. You had the big 87-yard or whatever it was play to Shaheed. It felt good, some momentum for the offense, but you got to keep that going. You got to keep it coming. Keep the big plays coming. John, how do you feel about that? Is there anything else that stands out to you that they need to fix?
Yeah, it was a clever segue, by the way, when going into the throwing deep and building off of that. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, I think that is a big thing in the target share. I think keeping Spencer Rattler clean. I think we talk about the offensive line. I know a lot of people were downplaying the Giants front, like, oh, well, the Chargers gave up 2 sacks, but this unit gave up no sacks on Spencer Rattler. And this Giants front four is really good. Like, they were able to control the run after getting gashed 165 yards the week before, and they were able to control the run in this game. So this was really more about Spencer being able to do a lot of different things. They got some success from Kendre Miller. I want to see more Kendre Miller. I just do. I think that, with Alvin on the field, Alvin's great, and Alvin will always be great, but Kendre is just a change of pace. He just runs a little bit differently, and he's just got that pop to him. And so I want to see him more. I really like what Spencer's been able to do in making these decisions, but the deep shots, like, you got to try. Lance has talked about 1.25, 1.5, something that you at least try. And I know the question got asked is like, you've kind of been a little bit reserved waiting for it. And the answer is, yeah, they have been a little bit reserved, but with the play call, Shaheed knew when he had it and that the safety was turning his hips, and he had him. And he's working on a Debo, I think, was on that side, but he had 2 safeties trying to catch Shaheed, and that just wasn't going to work. And so I want to see Can they get something like that out of Mason Tipton? Can they start attacking a little bit more here? I think there's a lot more to unlock for this offense. No pun intended for Kellen Moore, but I think there's so much that they can unlock that they just haven't shown. And I just feel like with the offense, running the ball has been their identity, but they can pass the ball. Spencer going 21-31. I mean, he's been, ever since the first couple of games where people were poo-pooing on the accuracy, 65% or better. I mean, you can't really ask for a lot more other than some of the deep shot elements and getting some more explosive plays. I think that's just what they've been lacking, is the explosive plays, and hopefully start seeing some as Taysom gets back in the lineup and such, that they start moving the ball a lot more.
Mason Tipton is a name that we have not said since training camp yet again. And I feel like it could be a mistake because we've looked and we talked a lot about the Saints receiving core this year being so fast, so speedy, and Mason Tipton is a big part of that. And they just haven't utilized that at all. I would love to see Mason Tipton get involved a little bit more.
I agree, but where does he fit in?
Exactly. The way that they're doing right now, it's just unfortunate.
And it's like, sure, he threw the ball 31 times, but it's a player like him whose skill set is similar to literally all of the guys that are in front of him. Like, shoot, love Brandon Cooks. He's been really good for a really long time. Look, I mean, Mason Tipton could be getting those plays, and it's
he got 9 snaps. That's what I was looking up. 9 snaps is what he got. Same as Taysom.
So that's what I'm saying. Like Mason Tipton, you could be bringing him along and developing him and allowing him to get out there and play in real action, not just putting him in an occasional running play. Like, let him get some reps. And I mean, because honestly, they didn't bring Brandon Cooks in to be a 1,000-yard receiver, right? Like, we all know that, right? Like, they brought him in to be a veteran voice in that room and contribute however they see such. I just think at this point in his career, I think while he still wants to play and still has shown some ability, I think the younger guys should be getting those reps and then potentially working him into some of those downfield situations. One thing that we didn't talk about on Sunday, we really haven't talked about much since probably training camp, is not just the deep shots in the big play. It's the catch and run opportunities. Yeah. I just don't see a whole lot of that. And what I mean by that is receivers catching the ball on the move. It's been a lot of stop routes, zone area, kind of hook up type situations. It's not impossible to catch those and run with them, but if the coverage is anywhere close, it's super hard to catch those balls, get upfield, make a guy miss, then you're off and running. I would love to see more crossers, pick routes, the in routes, out. I mean, things where these fast and quick receivers can catch the ball on the move and get going. I mean, obviously throwing the ball 50 yards down the field and catching it and running it the rest of the 30, it sounds great, but the reality is they're not calling a bunch of those plays in a game. So you see other teams doing it more regularly for whatever reason than we do. Guys always seem somehow to be schemed open, catch it in the open field. They're off and they're running and we're chasing. Like, I would love our guys to get some opportunities to do that, to really show the speed in another way, as opposed to just let our guy run past this guy and throw it as far as you can, and hopefully our guy comes down with it. Like, I think there's easier ways to kind of manufacture those big plays. And I think the catch and run situation is something that, along with the deep ball, should be something that they bring along as the season goes along.
I guess moving on from the offensive side of things, or at least the receiving side of things, John, what else do you think that this team needs to keep doing or carry over from last week to help pick up another win?
Take the ball away. I mean, I know the offense needs to capitalize on the turnovers, right? Like, you don't get a lot of points off of turnovers. I think that was what was disappointing, but keep taking the ball away. And look, I really have liked being able to see Kool-Aid play up a level. That is a game that he really needed, and getting Quincy Riley involved a lot more. Like, some of these younger guys, that's what I want to see. I think the only thing that's really perplexing that we really need to see is a consistent pass rush, and we just haven't. It's been off on. You're going to maybe get Chase Young back in the lineup. Probably a good chance that you get Chase Young back in the lineup. I don't think it single-handedly fixes the pass rush issues. But, at the same time, there were still some plays where...
New phone, who this?
New phone. They're not getting any push whatsoever. And then you give quarterbacks like that, forever and a day to pass the ball and stuff. It's going to not lead to good things. And so I think defensively, take the ball away. I liked some of the efforts after the plays, even if you are getting gashed a little bit. There are times where they looked a little bit lost, and I think that happens throughout the course of the game. It's just how you make the in-game adjustments. And I feel like the Saints, with this performance, made a lot of the in-game adjustments, the halftime adjustment, all this other stuff. They made those in this one, and I just want to see that continue to carry over. And the defense has just got to get it a more consistent level. I mean, 5 turnovers a game, you need more points than just 26.
Yeah,
sure.
well, and offensively, they got to be better in the red zone. I mean, I think
100 or 3.
Everybody knows that. Everybody's talked about it. Kellen Moore has talked about it this week. They're doing extra red zone periods, and believe it or not, that stuff does help. Like we had our issues in certain eras or certain times in my era, and we addressed it earlier on in the week in practice. Red zone is usually the Friday practice. And we've done red zone periods on a Wednesday and or a Thursday to try to shore some things up and make sure that you're better prepared. And like it all goes together, right? Like the defense is getting the turnovers. They need to keep doing that. Offense needs to be better in the red zone. Special teams wise, I feel like we got to tackle better on kickoffs. And then obviously we got to make field goals. I mean, that's the reality of we want to win games, especially close games. Our kickers got to be consistently good.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly the biggest thing that they need to change. It's maybe not necessarily, maybe not get a new guy. You're not wanting to win it. You're not planning to win a billion games, and maybe you let him try and kick his way out of it. But at some point, that change does need to happen if Blake Ruby doesn't start kicking field goals at better than a 67% rate. You can't be battling field goal rate and completion rate in the NFL, and that's kind of what they're at right now. So I think that that's a big thing they need to work on. I like getting the run game going. I think that could be good against this Patriots team. I think I'll talk about it a little bit more next time, but I do think the defense, keep playing Quincy Riley. I would say,
he's going to play.
Maybe give Terrell Burgess some more chances. I like that safety.
One of the plays of the game.
I like that safety room. Start. We talked that at some point of the season, changes are going to come to this team, and I think that even though you do win a game, you can kind of start making some of those changes because of it. Make Quincy Riley a starter. Make Terrell Burgess part of the game plan, stuff like that, to where there's some positive momentum around position groups that have been weaknesses. I just say roll with the hot hand with those kind of.
Well, and I also agree. Like, put my GM cap on it. A team that doesn't necessarily have Super Bowl aspirations, you should definitely jump into the youth movement. Like, that's gonna be the foundation of your team going forward. So why would you not let those guys continue to evolve and improve and grow? Like, yes, absolutely. And the earlier you do it, in my opinion, the better. Like, so, and I'm not saying all the vets need to be benched, but I do think that at the beginning of the season, everybody's optimistic and there's hope there. And you're like, everybody walks into the building saying, we're going to compete for a Super Bowl. And at some point, the reality kind of strikes and you realize, this probably is not going to be our year for that, but we can still get a lot out of this season as far as getting our guys better prepared and getting them the experience that it's going to take for them to eventually be one of those teams that's competing for a Super Bowl. So I totally agree. I love that some of the younger guys are playing. Some of the less experienced guys are starting to get some burn. And I think that, like you, Dylan, that it'll continue to happen throughout this season.
Yeah.
I think at some point too, we're going to see Tyler Shuck. I'm just going to say that too. I mean, I know people are always talking about this. I think with Spencer winning a game, it takes some pressure off of him and he can get the benefit of the doubt. But if he comes in and loses the next few games, and I think that could open a door for Tyler Shuck. But for now, I think that's kind of quieted. Just wanted to add that real quick before we go to break.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, well, real quick, while we're talking about quarterbacks, I was looking around the NFL. I was looking at some of these teams that are, below the Saints. A lot has been made of man, you have Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. At a point, I kind of prefer to have this kind of quarterback room than some of the others around the league. Like, there's flexibility and freedom, even if it's not leading to wins. Like, you look at a team like Las Vegas just paid Geno all that money.
Cleveland.
Yeah. The Bengals
Bengals paying 8 quarterbacks.
The Bengals just had to trade for Joe Flacco, guys. Like, come on.
Yeah, there's a lot of craziness around the NFL. At least with the Saints and this young group, you get to see what you have, and if you need to move on, you can move on. No hard feelings. There's freedom. You're not bogged down by money. But let's talk about who are some players to watch in this upcoming Patriots game, because I feel like there are a couple of key players that could really set themselves up for successful futures with big weeks this weekend. Guys, life is short. Things are stressful. LeBron James is out here missing a month for sciatica. Don't waste your time on stuff that should be easy but is made hard by random things. One of those big things is getting tickets to sporting events. Have you ever tried to buy one on unnamed competitors to Gametime? I have, and it is stressful. You never know how much you're paying. There's always hidden fees. None of that is here with Gametime. Because I use Gametime as the app that gives you the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And guys, I just pulled up Gametime, and in a couple of taps, you're seeing amazing deals. Like, you can catch this weekend's Patriots Saints game for less than $30. Less than $30. That's, if listeners of the show know, I paid around that for a sandwich once. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, let's get into our players of the game. And I'll start us off because I'm going to go with, as you see on the right, it's a massive follow-up game for some young stars. And I think the one I had in mind specifically is Kool-Aid McKinstry. It's Kool-Aid McKinstry because I think that he is, it's going to be really important. The Patriots don't have the best wide receiver room in the NFL, but they have Stephon Diggs. And I feel like if you ask some people, they'll tell you Stephon Diggs is washed. He's not the same guy that he used to be. And while that might be true, Ross knows Stephon Diggs is not washed.
Not washed.
No, he's really good. I think he's really good. He's entering a new leadership part of his career, but he takes over games on the field whenever he needs to. And I think that Kool-Aid is going to have another big game to keep him from putting up 140 or whatever it was he put up against the Bills last week. Welcome, Ross.
Hey.
Roast.
Hey.
Anything crazy happen at Saints Speedos today?
No, nothing crazy. But I will say this. I don't know if y'all talked about Alvin Kamara and the ankle injury, which was like a big kind of thing that happened. He spoke to us today and kind of mentioned that like it was an injury that happened. I think Nick Underhill had this first anyway, but he kind of mentioned that it was like a first thing that happened during the first half of that Giants game, but it didn't play a role into sort of his role in the second half. And so it seems like it's not a big deal. So he should be good to go. There were 3 big upgrades, including both offensive linemen on the interior, Trevor Penning and Cesar Ruiz. So both those guys look like they might be back this weekend. And we might finally see Chase Young back on the field this weekend, participating in practice 2 days in a row. He snuck in snuck in a little bit on Wednesday, but Thursday he was out there outright getting it done. So
that's kind of been a theme that happened last week with Taysom and Foster. These guys just kind of show up and they're like, "Oh, all right, oh, and you're playing, okay."
It's a calculated plan. You know,
we're winners.
Yeah.
We're winners now.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we're winners. And now Chase Young's like, "All right, yeah, I'm ready. Let's suit it up." No, but it'll be good to have him back, and maybe he'll be someone's pick for this segment. Ross, I went with Kool-Aid. I think that he had a great game. Probably his best game of his career. I mean, I guess no doubt he had 2 picks or whatever. But even without the turnovers, I think it was one of his better games. So I think that he needs to keep that momentum because he had a lot of hype entering the year and then has kind of died down with some slow play to start the year. And it's not easy being a one-man secondary. He's not the only one to blame, but he has had a tough year. So that was my pick. Ross, why don't you, welcome to the show for this week. Why don't you give us yours?
Yeah, just we're on like biggest like young stars and all that kind of stuff. Like
there was players to watch. I just renamed players to watch stuff like that.
Massive follow-up game for young stars. That's
what I was like looking at on the thing, and I was like, all right, I kind of gleaned from that. But it's not like you didn't send us the topics via text message earlier, but I was trying to remember where I was at.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mention Chase Young for sure. Like, I'll pick him for this because, I mean, you're going up against the NFL's second most accurate quarterback in this game in Drake May, 73.9% completion percentage. That's second in the league, only behind Jared Goff at 75.2. And when you have a defense that surrenders 69.5% completion percentage, like, putting pressure on the quarterback's probably gonna help you out there, right? And so when you have that, and then you guys were talking about Stephon Diggs that came in, Hunter Henry, like you've got these really good pass catchers, particularly middle of field pass catchers, which is super important in today's NFL. As these defenses are playing more shell and stuff like that, like, yeah, I mean, having a pass rush is going to be a big part of it. And the Saints have had 12 sacks so far this season through the first 5 games, which is nice in terms of the number, but their pressure hasn't necessarily been there on a consistent enough basis. So you get your pressure leader back from last year. That could be a really big opportunity there for Chase Young to be able to impact this game up against a quarterback that's been incredibly accurate and has done a good job taking care of the football so far this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree that Chase Young needs to have a big game. The pass rush is all in total, but the eyes are going to be on Chase Young because he has not played at all. And
I think even
rightfully so.
Yeah, even just making New England think about the fact that he's there, like there's a benefit in that, right? In terms of just giving them someone to be afraid of in the pass rush, in addition to Carl Granderson, who started the year out well, should have 5.5 sacks. But, I think that like that's a thing that, Chase Young kind of brings too, is like, if nothing else, he makes you pay attention to him, and that can help the rest of the defense. And then that marriage of rushing coverage.
Maybe he can pick up 3 or 4 sacks and still be on pace to
get
10, like we talked about before the year. Lance, why don't you go ahead and give us your players to watch, youngs or whatever you want. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Kendra.
Yeah.
We've all been talking about wanting to see more of him and continuing to prove, obviously, that he's healthy, but prove that he's more than capable of being that second running back, that bruiser, the guy that can come in short yardage situations, which it'll be interesting to see kind of how they handle that with Taysom Hill being back. And, obviously they tried last week a couple of times, didn't look great. So maybe Kellen Moore can say, you know what, let's go ahead and nix that for now. Let's use our back that's playing well and seems to be super confident and obviously healthy. And, I think he's kind of setting the tone, in my opinion, for what could be the future of that running back room. You don't want to talk about this team without Alvin Kamara, but the reality is he's not going to play forever. And I think they now finally realize that Kendra can be that guy. If they don't, they're foolish. And I don't think Kendra can be Alvin Kamara. They're 2 totally different players, right. But I love what he brings to the table. He's a different athlete, but he reminds me a lot of Pierre in that it's just so hard to bring him down. And 9.9 times out of 10, he's falling forward the same way that Pierre would fall forward and whenever he's touching the football. And I still think there's a little to be desired in him in the pass game. Like, they don't really throw him the ball very much, but he's proven that he can catch the ball and he can make people miss. Like, I would do more of that. Looking forward to seeing him play. And I think in a game like this that I imagine is going to be a close game, I think he's going to be needed to extend drives and, third and shorts, potential fourth and shorts. Like, I see him in the game in those situations and making plays, because that's kind of what he's shown that he's going to be, for us in this offense this season.
He's got 15 missed tackles forced on 38 carries. Yeah. Like, just to your point about him being, making people miss and everything like that. Like, he carried that over from last year big time, but in a more featured role now this year.
You reckon against the Saints defense? That's missed tackles. John.
Well, you said players. You said players.
Hey, man, I told you. Hey, listen, I told you I don't care.
You didn't care.
I'm out. I'm checked out.
That's right.
Just because I'm sticking on the offensive side. So the first one I am going to mention is Taysom Hill. I think that Taysom, only 9 snaps last week. I think his role is going to increase. Not only that, but they did put Wade Velus-Jones Jr. Maybe they'll call him up, but I think that gives a door, or opens a door for Taysom to maybe be used in the return department. I don't know. It could be an interesting one. I like the creativity of getting him involved as a passer. That was something that I see. We talked about deep shots. I think that's something, a way you could fool a defense maybe and try to see something happen there. So I'm really watching Taysom here. I think that he could be somebody that, gets a little bit more involved as obviously we go. And this could be a game where, you just got your feet wet last week. Now you get it this week. But for real, the biggest player has got to be Spencer Rattler. How do you follow up last week's performance? You get your first win. You're going up against the Mike Vrabel defense. I mean, this is something where you got to be prepared. And I feel like he's looked pretty prepared all season. And so now you're going to be really tested against that Patriots defense. I feel like Spencer Rattler is still one of the biggest keys here for the way this offense moves. I still think that he's handled himself extremely well. You look at his tempo, getting in and out of the huddle. He's making some good decisions with his feet and passing pretty well. Still some things that you leave, to the imagination. But I think for me, it's got to be Spencer. I mean, I feel like, how do you follow up a performance like that when you get your first win against a defense that could be a little bit tricky at times? So I think that's for me, number 2. He's going to be a big focal point, and whether they win or lose, regardless of the win, the run department or anything, it's going to fall solely on his shoulders.
Yeah. And honestly, it's a little breaking the rules, but we're past it. We can go a little honorable mention. I'm interested to see what happens with Drake May this game, because he's honestly just a fun quarterback to watch. And it'll be fun to see how Brandon Staley and the defense counteract, because he's, every week he's getting better and better and looking more and more like a legit star quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can maybe nip that in the bud for a week, or at least try to. And like Ross mentioned earlier, I think Chase Young's going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, pressure's going to be big there. To John's point too about Spencer Rattler, I think his ability to make things happen with his legs has been big for them these last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and so that linebacking core for the New England Patriots, which is fast and plays quick, like that's going to be a nice kind of piece of this puzzle to watch as well. I think this should be an exciting game. Like, this is probably the first game for the Saints season so far that I'm like, what, I could see some scoring in this game, depending upon how the defenses hold up and stuff like that, just based on desperation. But I'll reprise my Lance Moore here for a second. And I'll say one of the other players I'll be watching is going to be Rashid Shaheed. Can you do it again?
Yep.
Like, can you keep generating these big explosive plays? And I'll throw Chris Olave in there too. But, obviously, like, we saw the impact of them hitting that 87-yard touchdown and the pass interference penalties that came after that, and kind of the way that it made that defense react. Like, I think you're going to have to try to do some things that are going to put this defense, this New England defense, which is very disciplined, back on its heels a little bit. How do you do that? Taking those deep shots and then getting more of those explosive plays involved in the offense.
Well, guys, I think we've done it. We've gone we've gotten to the game picks and bold prediction segment without any of us being like, oh, I think this is who's going to win the game. So this is it's going to be a completely original and new and surprising game picks and bold prediction segment coming up next. There was a conversation in the Saints and Pelicans media room earlier about like first cars breaking down, cars being terrible. But you know what manufacturer wasn't mentioned once? Mazda. Because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. My car is a 2006 Camry, and it's 290,000 miles, and it is one of the ones that is just dying and stopping on me every 5 minutes. And it is, it's not It's not one that is crafted for those who do more than simply move, because it stops every 5 minutes. Let's
move, Toyota. Move until you can't move.
I really got what it's like. Oh man! All right, let's get into our game picks and bold predictions. Now let's start off with one Lance Moore. Give me your pick. Give me your prediction. What do you think is going to happen?
I'm feeling optimistic, honestly. Like I feel like this team is going to build off of last week's game, and I think this game will be closer than last week's game. I was kind of toying with the score in my head, like kind of as the show has gone along. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. For whatever reason, and I'm taking the Saints to win 20-16, I think. And bold prediction, I didn't have one ready, but I think
we can come back to it. We can come back to it.
Hey, here we go. The team will rush for over 150 yards in this game.
There you
over 150 in this game. I don't know that have we done that yet this year? I don't know that we have.
Definitely
not as a team.
Yeah,
they've rushed over 100 most games, but not over 150.
Yeah, no, 150 in this game.
Yeah, this one we talked a lot about the quarterbacks in this one, but I do feel like this one could come down to the running backs, both the Saints running backs as a group and Travion Henderson, who maybe will finally see the field at a normal amount, and Ramondre Stevenson, who might fumble 4 more times before that happens.
Right.
My bad. They ran for over 150 against Buffalo, but Buffalo was the worst rushing defense in the NFL. This is a much better rushing defense, so I think still a bold prediction for sure.
Yeah.
All right, John.
Yeah, look, I've been talking a lot about Spencer Rattler. I think that the Saints with this win, it's a good jump start. I'm picking them to win this week. I'm going to go with 28-24. I think it's going to be a closer game, obviously, but I do see some scoring, kind of what Ross was saying. And I just think that they're going to ride the momentum and be able to squeak out another win. I don't think it'll be super pretty, but I feel like they're going to win it at the end of it all. And my bold prediction is Spencer Rattler gets his first 300-yard passing game of his career. Mm-hmm. It has been done on the Patriots a couple times, so it's Tua did it, and so did Geno Smith. So I don't think it's a garbage time thing. I think Spencer is going to kind of ball here a little bit. So I'm picking him to go 300 for the first time in his career.
That would be great, because that means at least 1 or 2 more of those big plays. You have to imagine, if I see Spencer Rattler get 300 passing yards in a game, I'm like, Rashid Shaheed probably had like 130.
At least 130. At least 30. I'm counting on you, Spencer. I'm just saying.
I know you listen to the show. Ross, for the first couple of weeks, I chalked you up to a picking the Saints to lose. I just assumed that's what would happen. But you picked him to win last week. It worked out. So Ross right now I think he's perfect on the season.
He's undefeated right now.
Undefeated. Yep. So Ross, before I place my bets, what do you think is going to happen in this one?
John, what did you say your score prediction was again?
28-24.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're so close. We're so close. So I'm going 27-24. But I'm gonna save the graphic here. I'm gonna go with the Patriots. I think they're the better football team for right now and everything. You know what? Do I believe that?
Whoa, that's all right. I mean,
I've been waffling back and forth on this one because the other thing I'm trying to think about is that with the Patriots, like I do think that they're the better football team right now, like in week 6, but they're also coming off of a short week, very emotional win up against the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, so I'm gonna take the Saints. Actually, I'm gonna take the Saints in this one. I've been going back and forth on it, like for all week, trying to figure out exactly where I was gonna land on it. But I'm gonna go with the Saints in this one. That they get 2 in a row. It's not unheard of that they can win 2 games in a row. And so actually, I'm gonna take the Saints, but I'm gonna keep the same score because I do think like 24-27. I agree with Lance. It's not gonna be it's going to be a closer game than last week. I just like a little bit. I feel a little bit more on the scoring. So actually, I'm going to take the Saints here, 27-24. Good, hard-fought battle on this one. I'm going to say that my bold prediction is that both Kool-Aid and Quincy Riley leave with interceptions. And I think it's bold because Drake Bay has done a really good job taking care of the football.
Been careful.
And so, so that's what I'm going to do.
You know, Ross, you hit me with a 1-2 punch because not only did you just steal my bold prediction, you made it better by adding another player to it. So now what am I going to do? I'm completely lost.
Were you going to go with Quincy or Kool-Aid?
Kool-Aid. I was going to come in bunches. Yeah. I was going to go Kool-Aid getting another one.
Yeah. You could always say Kool-Aid gets 2.
No, because I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go somewhere else with it. I'm gonna go with. I'll be the guy. I'll do it. I'll save the graphic because I do think the Patriots are gonna win this game. I'm gonna go Patriots winning 20-14. Notice 14, 2 touchdowns, no field goals, not by accident. I think. Sorry, like that one.
Something else.
We have fun over here. And then I'm going to go with my bold prediction being that Chase Young gets 2 sacks in his debut.
That's great. I was thinking about that one too.
Chase Young gets 2 because I think that he is going to be ready. He's fresher. He hasn't been playing, so he's got to be a little bit fresher. And I think that there are questions about Will Campbell right now. I think Will Campbell's going to be good in the future. He's had some rougher moments. I think he's very good overall for a rookie left tackle, but I think that you got to take advantage of any offensive line issues they might have. And I think that is one of the weaker spots right now. So I'm going to go with Chase Young picking up 2 sacks. And I'm going to go with the Patriots winning. And I'm just doing that to save the graphic, guys. I don't think it's going to happen, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Way to hedge. Way to hedge.
Yeah.
I just don't want people to do this. Everyone's always mad at Dylan, and now this is going to be another reason for them to be mad at me.
You said it.
Right. I mean, you did it. You picked it.
I know.
I started to. I genuinely think that this is a winnable game for New Orleans, though. Like Dylan, I think you would agree with that. Like, I think this is winnable. Like this one,
absolutely
is a winnable one. I think the Panthers game coming up is a winnable one. Obviously, like Panthers are so bad they got people quitting podcasts out here. Like that's just bad in the streets.
And they,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
and they end up winning, beating the Dolphins.
Yeah, right. If you can get a bunch of dudes to quit doing a podcast, like something ain't going right. Something ain't going right. Like that's in our blood.
Say you were tired and you just burnt out. You didn't want to do it. Like,
But I think, like, I don't know. Last week, New Orleans proved that they could win in games that they should win. You know what I mean? Like the first 4 games were games where it was like, yeah, all right. A couple of them were like, all right, it could go either way. Other ones were like, yeah, they're not the better team, like Buffalo and all that. But like getting into that game against the Giants in a game that they should win, and doing that, like we've watched New Orleans not do that over the course of the past couple of years. And so just to see that, I think like now all of a sudden when they're playing up against a team that presents a winnable matchup, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, maybe. Like I can see it. You know what I mean? So.
Y'all took the Saints last week, right?
Yeah.
Or did somebody take the Giants? Okay, I was making sure. I think it.
Dylan accused me of being about to take the Giants before I made my pick. That's what had happened.
What had happened was
that is true. I wanted to real quick for the last couple of minutes of this. I wanted to take a look right now because it's interesting, and I do think that as a rebuilding team, I think it's important to know and remember that things can change fast in the NFL, both positively and negatively. I wanted to look at some of the playoff picture around the NFL right now. It's just it's kind of crazy. Because you look teams that are in the playoffs right now, Jaguars 4-1, nobody had them happening. The Broncos 3-2. They're a bubble team, but they're in right now. And then you look at teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens, not in the playoffs right now.
Right.
Like things and changes happen
Ravens
fast in the NFL. Maybe.
Yeah, if they get healthy.
If they get healthy,
I think they'll get it.
Yeah.
I mean, they might. The AFC is looking solid, and the Patriots could make that harder on them by winning again this weekend.
Lance, what was that like from like the player perspective of just knowing that like, okay, what happened last year in the playoffs is never really an indicator of what's going to happen the next year. Like, I'm sure that was a very helpful piece.
Yeah, I mean, every year, every team is different. But you know what teams have a chance early in the season. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, okay, Kansas City has started poorly several times over the last couple of years and figured out how to win games later in the season and played themselves into either winning a division or a wild card berth and done damage, right? Like I think 6 straight AFC championship games. So like you understand that a team like that is probably going to end up having a seat at the table. But you're not worried about what they're doing outside of the game or games that your team might play against them in the regular season. You're not counting wins and losses, especially at this point in the season. You might glance at it and say, oh man, we're 2 games, 3 games back in the division, but you're not looking at the overall playoff picture 6 weeks into the season. That to me, that's kind of wasted time and energy. Like you worry about that one game that you've got and try to get that one win that week.
Sure.
And then you go from there. Later in the season, maybe so. Man, we got to win these last 2 games to give ourselves a chance to get in. Sure. And you have those conversations as a team. The coach will come in and have them, but you do understand the teams going into the season that have a chance, but having a chance doesn't necessarily guarantee anybody anything. So everybody's still got to go out and play.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's interesting, especially like being in early on in the rebuild. You see how quickly a team like Detroit turns things around and is now a powerhouse. Obviously, you need to draft well to do that and develop well and sign the right players. But it is just just because you're having a bad season doesn't mean like next year you're going to be terrible.
But I also think Detroit has been good for the last several years. So we lose sight of how bad they were when Dan Campbell got the job. It was like 2.5 years that they were really, really bad. So like we're only 6 weeks. We're not even 6 weeks. We're into the 6th week of Kellen Moore's tenure. So like, sure, we're not where we want to be, but that's okay. Right. Like we're now like, accustomed to Detroit being good, so we don't remember sometimes how bad they were in the beginning of that rebuild. Like it took years for them to get to where they are today, and it might take years for us to get to where we need to get to eventually. I just don't want people to think like, oh man, Detroit was only bad for half a year and they're making the playoffs every night. That wasn't the case then. So and they were bad and they played bad football, but they were coached the right way. They brought the right people in. They've developed their players that are there and turned them into really, really good players. Like that's the way that you do it. And hopefully this organization is taking notes from what Detroit was able to do over the last 5-6 years.
Especially when it comes to the ability to be able to rebound like that and then do it sustainably. Like they are a good team again. Yeah, right. Like Washington had a year and then now they're struggling a little bit. Now I know there's injuries that are a part of that story, but then you look at Houston. Houston was super impressive, and then they've kind of waffled a little bit since then. And so it's not just about doing it; it's about doing it and then doing it again and again and again. It feels like Detroit's like the model for that right now, for sure.
Well, and they lost Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, so this is really a measuring stick of like how good are they? Like, look, the Eagles miss Kellen Moore. I'm just gonna say that. Like their offense is. But so I'm just saying, like that's
careful, Jeff Singletary. What's his name? He's gonna air you out if you say at the they'll do you like Drew. Jeff Saturday gonna come for you.
Man.
All right, Jeff. Let's talk.
Well, I'm only concerned about Jeff Sunday because that's when the next episode of the Saints Squad Show is gonna be. Thank you for listening to the Saints Squad Show. Check out me, Ross, John, and Lance on our socials for the latest. We'll be right back here on Sunday, right after the game, to talk about the Saints' roaring victory over the New England Patriots or disappointing loss. Fire everybody. We'll be right here to discuss it all. And until then, I normally throw it to Ross and Locked On Saints for your next listen, but I'm going to be selfish today. Make your next listen Locked On Pelicans, because I am on the next episode of Locked On Pelicans. You're going to be seeing a lot of me over there. And actually, as we're live, that episode is premiering. So you're not doing anything right now. You're watching the podcast. I'm watching another one, Locked On Pelicans, and we'll see y'all on Sunday.